Hi, I'm Margaret, and this is Margaret Lewin Quilting, and welcome to block number 17 of Moda Fabrics Stitch Pink, which is their 2020 Breast Cancer Awareness Quilt. I'm making two of these. I'm making one in pinks for breast cancer awareness, and I'm also making one in blacks for melanoma. Today we're going to get through block number 17, which is called Casablanca. This block is a very simple block to make. We're going to be using squares to make half square triangles to put it all together. Now these are the fabrics for both blocks all cut out. We're going to start by doing things a little bit different than how Moda has you doing them in the directions. We are going to make two blocks at a time, and what we're going to do is on the lighter of the two fabrics, we're going to draw a diagonal line. So let's get that done first. Once I've done the diagonal line, I'm going to match it up with my darker of the two fabrics. We're going to sew 1/4 of an inch away from both sides of this drawn line. And what's going to happen is it's then going to give us two half square triangles, and this block is calling for a total of 8 of them, so we just need to make 4. The reason I like to do it this way is because it really does control the bias that we'll be working through as we work on these blocks. So the bias is this way. By sewing that first, we're kind of controlling it. We're saying, okay, we've got stitches here and you aren't moving. So I'm going to get all 8 of these done, meaning 4 of the pink and 4 of the black, and then I'll come back and show you what the very next step for you to do is. I've sewn all of my half square triangles. The next thing I'm going to do is I can either take my ruler or a pair of scissors and I cut right on that solid line that I drew. And what that's going to do is just simply cut these in half so that I have 2 of them. And this is what they look like. So the next thing I'm going to do is take them over to my ironing board and I'll iron them. Before I iron them or press them, I am going to set my seams, which is something that I like to always do before I start actually pressing my blocks. Now, according to the directions, it doesn't look like they're telling you to press them one way or the other. You can do press them whatever way you want. On this one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to press them towards the darker of the two colors. But I'll be back to show you which one I end up deciding on doing once I have gotten all of these pressed. And then what our next step is, we're going to take a minute and we're going to square them all up. Squaring them up is going to make a huge difference to how our quilt comes out. So we want to make sure that that's not a step that we skip. We want to make sure that we do that one. So I'll be back in just a minute to show you that. You can see right here I've started squaring up my blocks. So I want to show you exactly how I did it. So what I'm going to do is pay attention to my 45-degree line here. I'm going to line that right up with my stitched line. The other thing I'm checking for is to make sure that I have enough excess fabric so that when I trim this, I don't trim it too small. So our blocks need to be 3 1/4, and we do have plenty. You could probably take these down to cutting them at, I would say 4 1/4 instead of 4 1/2. So what I'm going to do is trim up one side across the top. I'm going to rotate it. Now this is where I really need to pay attention to the size of the block. The size of our block needs to be 3 1/4 inches. So I'm going to take our 3 1/4, which is right here, line that up across the bottom and up the left side, and then I can trim again. So I'm going to finish trimming these up, and once I've got these all trimmed up, I'll come back and we will get these both all laid out so that we can start sewing them. So it will only take me a minute. There's only 16 blocks here and it won't take long at all. So I'll see you in just a minute. Alright, I've got both of my blocks all laid out. So now it's time to think about how we're putting this together. I am going to start by putting it together these, then these, then these. Once I have these 3 sewn into rows, then I'm going to put them into a square. Okay. Then what I will do is add either the 2 sides or the top and the bottom, probably the 2 sides to the center block. Then I will make this and this, and then sew the 3 together. I will come back as I go through putting it together and just show you how I'm doing it. So I'll be back in a minute. I have sewn these center pieces together. How I pressed them was the center. I pressed them in towards the colored fabric, and on these 2 rows I pressed them out towards the colored fabric. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my picture, and I am going to make certain that I have these in the correct direction, because they do have a pattern here, and it's very important that we keep it. And if I look at this one, I have a problem. It's not right. So now I'm going to turn it this way, and I see, yes, I'm right. Yes, I'm right. So now let me pick this one up below, and again, look, I wasn't correct. I got it switched around. So that's why we stop at this point and we double check to make certain that we've got everything right, because now I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew these 3 rows together. Then I'm going to add these, put these together, and I will press these out. I will press these in. All right, and then I'll be back. Here are my 2 blocks, and this is block number 17, Casablanca. All right, a couple of things I want to go over with you, and then I'm going to show you how I went about pressing this at the end. I cut my blocks, these at 4.5. You could probably get away with 4 1/4. You're going to square these up to 3 1/4. I cut mine at 4.5 and had plenty to square it up. So you probably could get away with cutting yours at 4 1/4 if you use my method. If you're using the method that Moda did, follow Moda's directions. I would add probably 1/8 of an inch to that though, just so that you've got enough. Other than that, I cut everything exactly how Moda said. Just remember that when I put my blocks together, I cut the bigger block, I drew a diagonal line, I stitched 1/4 of an inch away from both sides of the line, cut those in half, and had my half square triangles. This is my melanoma, and here is my breast cancer awareness one. Now, how I went about pressing these. As always, we pick up a couple extra threads. I did use my wool pressing mat, and if you'd like to see what one I use, it's in the description box below. And on my half square triangle, on my half square triangles, I pressed towards the darker, and you can see that on every one. When I got to this piece, it didn't want to go either way, so I opened my seams and created these little 4 patches in the center. That's what I've always known them as. And what that did is it made this press out, these press in, and it worked out perfect. Same thing with these ends. I did try to do this same method. It didn't want to do it. I didn't force it. So I pressed these out. I did the exact same pressing on both of them because quite honestly, it was really working well. So I didn't want to mess with it. I got to fix this and this one because they're not laying real flat. But I'll go back and press those again. Those are my 2 block number 17. And if you have any questions about how I put these together, please don't hesitate to ask. The other thing is, if you're part of our Facebook group, pictures of your blocks, I cannot wait to see them. So many people are posting them and I am enjoying it. If you are not part of the Facebook group, there's a link down below to get to it. Please come on over and share some time with us. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please think about doing so. And if you like these videos, please do give them a thumbs up so that YouTube's algorithm realizes that people are enjoying these videos. And then they'll show up more and more. Thanks a bunch for being with me today, and I will see you again tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to be catching a falling star with block number 18. I'll see you then, everybody. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye.